appreciate you taking the time though. It's crazy that you reached out to me because I've seen you, the Caster Cup winner, #1, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing that you reached out.
Oh no, I'm a fan. I mean, I think I listened to quite a few people, and I like your take because you no nonsense, no drama, and I think that right now everybody is kind of leaning in on that because it's a little bit of slow time, but also just with how the economy's going, I listen to your stuff quite a bit. So I just wanted to reach out because I think that we're kind of in this interesting point where a lot of investors or people who are enthusiasts of TCGs could gain a lot of value by if Metazoo is, or any TCG for that point, is going to survive. I think it's really going to be based off of leaning in on the in-person play in the local game stores because you're going to need that during this kind of tumultuous time of a potential recession and all that stuff.
100%. So yeah, I try to stay impartial and not really be biased about it. I know that the economy's not looking too great, and I see a lot of people are in fear about Metazoo. So I'm trying to touch other TCGs as well and just try to calm people down and stay away from all the drama is what I'm trying to do.
Printing money, especially in the States, like you're just between COVID and between the relief packages and stuff like that, people are printing money, which actually incited people to buy more stuff because they're watching their favorite streamers and whatnot, streamers rip and ship. So I think that now it's probably the market is correcting itself. So it's just part of the game. Got to be smart, but I think that a lot of investors can bode well by understanding the microeconomics of the gameplay side. Because I think we can use a really good couple case studies like January, like Level and Mailman went from $100 to $300, and that's because we started playing it. We started using it in decks, and people don't realize like that's kind of the catalyst behind it. The same thing with Gassy. It went from $20 to $60 in a month of an article. So I think that if we can touch on that and then also showcase how people can help or even like help build their local communities, I think, and how that turns into hedging your bets and stuff like that, it'll be really beneficial.
And yeah, there's a lot going on in the economy right now, especially with all the inflation going on. And a lot of people are in fear, and it's post-COVID. So a lot of people are trying to spend money on vacations and other stuff right now. And it's just crazy because you see the same thing every single time. History repeats itself. Every time this happens, people are in fear instead of thinking that things are on a discount. And I just tell them, like, if you love it, if you love what you're doing, if you love the cards you have, don't really worry so much about the market. It'll rebound. But so that's awesome, man. What really got you into Metazoo? I watched Argo's video, a big chunk of it, and I've seen him ask some of these questions, but it's really cool to see it firsthand.
It was, to be honest, I don't know who is the person behind the marketing, but I got in pretty early, like whenever they had the Patreon, and I saw the artwork on an Instagram ad, and I was like, oh dang, this is like Pokemon, but I like the art way more. And so I initially got on the website or got into Patreon, and it was right at the last minute whenever you could, if you paid $5, you had access to all the SKUs, and you could get a maximum of 5 for the Kickstarter stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I paid my $5. I got the product in. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm sitting on. So I'm just like, okay, we're about to rip and ship. And then I go to YouTube, and everybody's like, Kickstarters are going for like $5,000, $6,000. I said, oh, we're gonna be rich. Logan Paul's gonna say like, hey, I've always loved Metazoo from the get-go, and he's gonna like have a box break for $2 million, and then we're gonna be rich. So I just sat on the boxes, and then eventually got into where we met on the Discord, and I'll talk about that. Some of the friends here in Austin, which led to us building Caster Society, met on the Discord before we met in person, went to the Houston Collecticon, and then that's when the ball started to roll, because then it's like I won the sealed event there, got a cool trophy, and then was just going to conventions and playing, and then eventually led to like the Caster Cup.
That's crazy. You were there since the very beginning. I got there. It was probably about 3 to 4 months in. So I got there as it was spiraling, like it was going parabolic. and just going upwards. And I started looking into it. I remember the very first video, a sports card investor. And I watched him because I was big into sports cards. I was buying Topps, LeBron Chromes at the time. And you know how volatile sports are, like one wrong move and then the whole thing tanks, right? You don't win the whatever. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, I know who Steve Aoki is, but Metazoo sounds like a farming game, something weird. I was like, I don't know if I'm really interested. And understanding psychology, I was like, well, you know, once you hear it like 5 to 7 times, it starts to stick in your brain. You want to check it out. So I went to go check out the game. And I was like, bro, this is some amazing artwork. And I got into the whole metasphere of it, right? Just checking it out. And I was like, it's tied to folklore and cryptids that all of us know.
You can't lose.
And then you had a whole Kickstarter boom. It went crazy. It's still going crazy.
Yeah. No, that was the craziest part about it, is like, as a player, I mean, and the initial woes were we couldn't get products. So then first edition came out, and then it was still like we still couldn't get product, or it wasn't affordable. So then it was like second edition came out, and then it was like, okay, great. Nightfall came out, still really good. And then Wilderness came out, and it was like, now you're starting to get into, you're getting these like hallmark pieces, like if you were Magic, then your Moxes and your Black Lotus. Like I imagine one day Prism, or if it isn't reprinted, will be probably the Black Lotus of Metazoo. Because
you think so?
I think so. If they don't reprint that card, it'll be the Black Lotus of Metazoo, because you have to play. You pretty much have to play it going forward if you're going to play anything multicolored. Which I'm thinking that also, like, I'm going to tell the viewers, but like hopping in the Discords and seeing what's playable and what's like being, I guess hinted at, because in my opinion, I don't know if it's been confirmed. I think that Nightfall was supposed to come after Wilderness. I think it was because of October, and they were like, oh, we need a spooky set, so let's move Nightfall in front. Because if you look at the card Destroy Aura, it says you have to destroy a special aura if applicable, or like you have to do that. But the special aura didn't come out until the set afterwards, which was Wilderness. So it makes me think, it doesn't, why would you create a mechanic for a card that isn't even, you would never do that. So it makes me think that. But if you can like it's like not saying insider trading, but if you have information that can be used for you if you're an investor or collector, and you can do that by the players, because they play with the cards, they can tell you like, hey, this will break the meta at this point in time, like this will be a major player in sets going forward. And so now I think Prismor is the one. If they don't reprint that thing, it's gonna be Black Lotus level.
That's crazy. So I was on eBay and I tried to buy a Pop 1 at the time. It was a Pop 1 Prism Aura. And the guy canceled on me and said that the whole slab cracked or dropped on the floor. So I was so close to getting like a PSA 10 Prism Aura. Yeah. And I understand exactly what you're saying, because my friend got me actually into Magic a few weeks ago, about a month ago. And I've never played Magic. I've never actually gotten into Magic. And I know a lot of people love it. It's huge. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I realized he's not a collector, or he's not an investor or collector. He's more just a player. And I realized that once I looked up the Black Lotus and more into it, you're absolutely correct that the playability of the card, how strong it is in the competitive atmosphere, is really closely tied to where it may be a trajectory for investment. And I realize now why Black Lotus is so incredibly expensive, that it's a great card to have. Yeah,
it's a free, I mean, I think free mana, it's free mana. You don't have, it's 0, and it's you generate 3. So it's nuts, because if you do that and you just kind of extrapolate that over the game, I also think that's why your Mothmans and stuff were so high. Now, granted, they might be like the Charizard of Metazoo in a sense, like Mothman or Loveland, or even some people like Wendigo. But I think because people didn't have the wherewithal to pay attention to the gameplay state of it, like there wasn't a lot of gameplay and there wasn't a lot of information on the most playable cards in gameplay. But now that there are starting out, now that like between Metazoo HQ, Caster Society, there's different websites coming out and they're telling you can see like what's the most playable card, and you can start seeing like, oh, this might be something, because we already know that Mike has said, it's confirmed that there's not going to be banning of cards. There's not going to be a set rotation. So typically, in Magic, there's standard, there's modern, there's legacy. And so the price, you have to like play it like a stock market. You got to buy low, sell high. You play it based off of of tournaments and how things kind of run. And then you sell it off before the block switches out into another set. Now in Metazoo, if a card is good and if it's already been confirmed, unless it gets reprinted, but typically it won't, Mike has already said there's no banning and there's no set rotations. So I can just use that mentality to be like, this card will forever be playable no matter what the set, no matter how long. Like Prism Aura will always be a great card because it can generate one of any aura type from now until the end of time. So,
well, you're on it. You're on it. So how do you feel about the Chaos Crystal? I know when it first came out in first edition, a lot of people were actually comparing that to a Lotus at the time.
It actually could definitely be there. I think right now within the meta, everybody, it's so fragile because it's not only it's a zero cost, but to kill it, you only need 25 LP. So it's a little bit fragile compared to the other artifacts. But as the meta shifts and it goes into maybe a slower game instead of being so aggressive early on, like I think that as cards expand or as much as the gameplay increases, you'll start to see more complex deck lists and stuff like that. Because I think of it now as like it's a little bit elementary in the sense of I have a beastie with more attack than you have LP. I'll attack, kill it, and I win. It's like old Yu-Gi-Oh. I tell people to watch the first Magic, the World Championships. Like they have like a memorandum, like a history book of it, and they have like a whole bunch of videos, even with Yu-Gi-Oh. And the first Yu-Gi-Oh Shonen Jumps and World Championships and tournaments were won by decks who had the most monsters that were like 1800 attack or 1900 because they had 100 or 50 attack points over the opponent, and it was just real like elementary style. So as the game expands, it gets more complex. It gets to be more intricacies to the game, and the game ultimately gets slower. It's not just like two aggro decks playing. It's going to be a lot more of a chess match. And so Chaos Crystal will be that, but right now I think that the crown jewel of Metazoo is probably the Prism Aura because of I think the upside for Chaos Crystal is probably the higher one, but I think that the floor is higher for Prism Aura because if they created a beastie or an archetype that you have to play you have to play two different aura types for, it's a must playable. You know what I mean? So high floor is Prism Aura, high ceiling is Chaos Crystal.
Well, it's definitely a great time to pick up. It's crazy, like where the prices are at right now. I was doing a video today and I've seen even the Chaos, the first edition was hitting like $30.
Yeah.
So I think right now, especially with Metazoo continuing their plan, right, for the next Casters Cup and the next one to increase the prize pool. I mean, when you have $5 million eventually that you're playing with and you have a bigger IP, TV shows, IPO and whatnot, it's just going to crazily expand. And I think to myself, I'm like, well, there's like 40, 50 indie TCGs right now. I was following a few Nostalgics, which I still like the artwork, Akora, which was nice. But when I really look at it, I ask myself, which one is really stands a shot to go up against the top three? And I think Metazoo is definitely there. I've never seen a company just go parabolic as fast as this one has. And especially all the collaborations, Walmart, GameStop, Target, all this stuff.
Mike and the team are doing extremely well. Andy's killing it with the product stuff. I think that some people get a little bit of wallet fatigue, but I think that if we pull it back, I try to be impartial and kind of unbiased in the sense. If we were kids, Pokemon was doing the same thing, but I do remember coloring books and and lunch boxes and crayons, and like they collab with Burger King and all that. Like they were doing the same things. It's just that we were kids and we loved it. And but if in also us being older and probably buying almost everything, or at least like potentially buying everything, that it could be similar to it could stimulate some type of wallet fatigue, and also just with how everything's going. That being said, I think it's boding well. Like I think in the beginning, you want to have a strong IP to get a lot of the investors and collectors like intrigued, because they're like, oh, well, this signals like a strong company. Like if I'm able to work with Dimac, if I'm willing, if I can work with, or if I can get King Gary, if I can get King Pokemon, if I can get Steve Aoki, if I can get these major players and they believe in me, as well as these other companies to, you know, potentially see my IP as something worthwhile, then that signals to collectors and investors, hey, this is it. Whereas now we're at the point where I think the collectors and investors are in, and they're like, okay, now they're worried because prices are dropping because of the macroeconomic situation. Now it's time for the inverse. It's time for the local game stores, the players in the community to kind of build, because the foundation needs to be there to, again, I think eventually psychologically, like if it's stocks or anything, eventually once it's red enough, like as soon as you lose enough percentage off of that, or I guess you lose enough money off of something, then you're going to sell it off, or you're going to hold. It's one or the other. It's like at some point when you're down 20 on something, 20%, then you're like, okay, I need to start selling. And then once you get to like some ridiculously low amount, then you're like, okay, I'm just going to hold for the long haul. But eventually you need to kind of, I guess, solidify the floor. And that's where the local game stores and the community building and the gameplay is at, because then the prices will always be somewhat stable, because players will be playing with these cards. Or if a deck becomes popular in this time or going forward, then it solidifies the price. So I'm in this point now where it's more of a call to action, because I think that it's an ecosystem, and I say that it's like rising tides raises all boats. So if the collectors are healthy and there's a healthy collector and investor market, then that bodes well for the players in the LGSs. If the LGSs are willing to pick up the game, it's helpful for the players, but it also helps, you know, collectors, investors, if they want to move big singles or whatever it may be. And the players helps everybody, because if they're buying boxes from the LGSs, then hey, LGSs are happy. In having events and having a lot of people there, LGSs are happy, as well as where if there are collectors and investors or people who want to move singles that are playable, then that's an easy mode of transportation. That's an easy way to, you know, supply and demand. I need to get Prism Wars, so has Prism Wars. So I think that now it's time for people to push in and lean in on building up the community, and also at the LGS store level, and then having events and stuff like that, because right now it's that portion of the community's time to shine, and it's like a call to action, if you will.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think that, you know, as a child, like playing Pokemon, I remember being in all those LGSs and playing Pokemon, and it really started with the playability factor, right? And then we also had the collectors and investors, but at that time, as a child, I wasn't investing in Pokemon. I don't think none of us were. That's why we lost all of them. But, you know, I think that if we could all work together, because a lot of the times, you know, they argue amongst each other, and we have to understand that investors and collectors are needed to work with the players as well. And some of us are all three. And I really like how the team listens, and I like how the Casters Cup came about. And I really love how they're trying to push the playability aspect, because without that, right, like you said, you know, you need all of them. Without that, it's gonna hurt the IP. And I think they're doing well by expanding all of that, especially with the Casters Cup. What I would like to see is the expansion of deck lists across the internet, or somewhere where somebody who's trying to play the game has no understanding of fourth wall effects and Metazoo can look at a deck list and just quickly create a deck list to play the game. That would be awesome.
I would say, I mean, again, shameless plug, but the team at Cash Society, whether it be casual or competitive, constant deck lists. I mean, I think one of the only places where a lot of the top 32 deck lists from Caster Cup was available, as well as a bunch of casual ones. Because again, we're not in this place yet where we have enough players. Almost everybody's a competitor. You know, in Magic, they have Commander, and that's where a bulk of their in-person revenue is coming from, just because, I mean, Commander is huge. Like if collectors had the opportunity to hedge themselves off of another game format like Commander, that'd be one thing. But right now we're hedging. We have to be mindful of everything with what's being played on the competitive scene for collectors and investors. So with that being said, the website cashshotty.com I highly recommend, as well as the Discord. I don't think it again, insider trading is illegal, but this is, I guess, legal insider trading. If you see people are talking, people are playing, you watch on the online TTS tournaments, and you see, if you constantly are seeing a certain deck, that could probably tell you at the next big major event, this deck will probably be played. And what do? Oh, I can hedge I can be smart and I can buy a card, or I can also, you know, if you're somebody who wants to help out your LGS or your local community, plenty of them are probably going to these major tournaments or big tournaments and maybe need cards. So spotting cards is nothing that's been frowned upon. Even that's how I got into TCGs, because I didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I kind of just started with bulk. And one of the collectors, he ended up like having all the cards, but they had this series in Magic called the JSS, or Junior Super Series. And my mom was like, "Hey," well, I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, can I play in the Junior Super Series?" And she's like, "No, it's Magic, and that's the devil." And I'm like, "Mom, but they're gonna give out a scholarship." And she's like, "Scholarship?" And then she's like, okay. And then it ended up like working out. I ended up doing well. And then she's like, "Well, baby got a scholarship." And then she's like, "Just keep doing this." And so, but it never would have came into fruition because I never had the Magic cards, and Magic cards were way more expensive than Yu-Gi-Oh at the time. So somebody loaned me a deck, and then, you know, we did something where the deal was he got the physical product, I got the scholarship. That's a mutualistic relationship.
Oh, yeah.
where it helps both people out. So I think that if more of those things happen, it allows for, you know, cards to be played, people not to have to struggle, especially as card players. You know, I personally, I've gone to tournaments with $50 and paying gas money, and I'm over here eating McDonald's to survive. Whenever I was a kid, I'm like, got $20-$30 to my name, and I make it happen. So I think that it alleviates a little bit of the pressure of trying to get cards and stuff like that for the players. But also, you know, you don't risk a lot. All you do is, as long as you're trustworthy, you just take a snapshot on your phone of the cards you loaned them. They return them after the tournament, and you eventually get some of their product. You get, if they do well, and they get the cards that they need, and everybody's in a good position, as well as pricing and stuff like that is affected, because, you know, that some cards are being played more often, so then the price will go up on that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So that's a great way to put it, right? If you have a good pool of friends who can help you out, you can enjoy the game. So I see, obviously, you're really good at playing the game. I'm very curious. Do you invest in the game as well?
Yes, I mean, the Kickstarter stuff, I still have that. I haven't touched it at all. Like, the Kickstarter stuff, I think I pretty much buy almost everything on there, but I do it even with the prize support from Caster Cup. Like, I opened up a quarter, and I opened up a quarter of like the player packs, the Collecticon packs, and then I'm just vaulting everything else. I mean,
nice.
I'm a full, like I said, supporter. I think that as a person, I can be very critical, but I can do it in a very positive way. I think that, again, like I said, people can have wallet fatigue, but that's normal. But if you think about it in terms of a business aspect, I mean, Metazoo is a business. They're not a nonprofit, a charity, or anything like that. So I think that being mindful of those things, you can also, you know, it's an investment, it's a hobby at the end of the day. So you gotta treat it as such. So I don't ever let the investment get me too bent out of shape. It's like whenever you first start getting involved in investing and they're like, don't spend any money that you aren't willing to lose. So at the end of the day, I'm happy because I like the stuff that I have. I like the cars that I bought. I like the looks of it. But I also have a like a vested interest in it, and I want it to do well, but I don't want to have any ad hominem or personal attacks on people, or even I can do all that stuff without being so overly critical, because I think right now everybody's super negative and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's an interesting business time for everybody. So
Yeah.
if we show them a little bit more grace rather than like, kicking them, we don't know if they're down or not, but I'm just assuming that a lot of people are going through a lot of economic woes, kicking them while they're down. I think that's probably a lot better than just like doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but man, I understand how you feel 100%. A lot of people are down, the economic woes and whatnot. And I've noticed that a lot of negativity has been spurring amongst social media, the discords, and I try to stay out of it. I try to speak my piece, and I get somewhat attacked sometimes, but I try not to be confrontational and start nothing with anybody. I've noticed it on YouTube as well. And I wish the best for everyone, even if they want to step away from the game completely. Some people do it hoping to get a lot of money very quickly. Like they watch Alpha Investments and they get too tied into the conspiracies of everything. And for me, like you said, if you enjoy the game, that's really all that matters. If you enjoy the artwork, that's all that matters. I still pick up other games that I know don't really have a collectible or investability factor, but I just enjoy it. And I hope that Metazoo sticks around for decades. I really do. And I really enjoy watching y'all, from the player aspect, especially the Caster Cup and what y'all done. I talked to Pokekai
I saw that.
And he's a great guy, man. I love.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I think that it's an interesting time, and again, big shout out and kudos to you, because it's tough, especially now, because negativity typically brings a lot more eyes and attractions and views and comments and engagement just in general. But staying the course and staying positive, I think will bode well long term. And so big kudos on that. And I mean, Pokekai, Dylan's amazing. He's I love the video. I love the channel. It's amazing. But I think right now it's easier to kind of like wallow in the negativity rather than like being a little bit more optimistic. And I think about that in a lot of different approaches, just because when we're playing this, like I'm part of pretty much most of the Facebook groups, the Discords, all that stuff. And in reality, I'm not gonna lie and say I've been this big person in investing and collecting for years and years. I'm learning as I go, and a lot of us are, because a lot of people are coming into more, financial freedom as far as like being adults and like getting out of college and stuff like that. Like really, just as a man, I didn't even, okay, you graduate college, you maybe start your first job, you really don't have that like expendable like income, or you really don't even have that confidence to do something as like a collectible or something like that, because we're also in a very interesting time where we're in this intersectionality of sneakers, streetwear, car collectibles, nerdy stuff, anime, all intersecting within each other. So it's kind of cooler now. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I stopped playing cards and started playing football because it was better at getting girls than it was being good at cards. Yeah. Just being honest, like nobody wants to be the nerd unless that's just kind of like where you leaned into. And I didn't really feel comfortable with myself now. But as a man, like now you're comfortable. You're like, hey, I'm doing well for myself. I'm working hard. I want to really get back into the things that I loved as a kid. I had to give up all those childish things. Now I want to get back involved. And we still didn't have a lot of us didn't have the economic like knowledge base to understand supply and demand, or understand how like scarcity works in kind of affects price volume, or even anything with stock markets or anything like that. Like we're just trying to survive. So now we're in this place of, we still don't know that. I just now realized that maybe like a couple of years ago. So and the only reason why I did that was because I worked for a company that did all the financial back end stuff with the card approval stuff for Robinhood, Chime, Varo, a lot of like online banking systems. So I learned that, but my friends were like, you don't know anything about investing in stocks and you don't know about ETFs. And I'm like, crypto, no, I didn't know any of that. I wasn't taught that. And so I think that a lot of us in the card community are very much so like that. And there are a lot of people that are involved in it, but a lot of the fear and a lot of the negativity comes from not understanding like this is normal. Like right now, all the big wigs, all the people who are and this is not financial advice, but we know what they're doing. They're liquidating. Their cash is king right now, and they're about to buy everything for a fire sale. That's what they're doing. They're doing that with sneakers right now. They're doing that with handbags. They're doing that with cards. It's normal, but for us, the common man, we don't know anything about it, and then we live through it, and then we go the next time we're like, oh, I won't miss that boat. I'm going to make sure that whenever the next time comes, oh, I've got the cash on hand, I can get involved in, and I can be a part of it. So I just think that now people are learning, and I bet the next time they won't make the mistake of being overly negative. They'll probably be like, oh, this is part of the system, this is part of what's going on, and I'll be prepared for next time.
Yeah, we definitely learn, right? We definitely learn.
Yeah.
You're seeing ups and downs. I think, like you were saying, the expendable income that a lot of people had, the stimulus checks, the crypto explosion, the NFTs, whether a lot of people believe in it or not, it all intertwined. And a lot of people had a lot of cash to just blow on collectibles and COVID, sit in the house. And it really just took a lot of things and raised it to a whole new level, especially with the 20 high with Logan Paul and Pokemon. Things just went wild. And a lot of that stuff spurred something else, like where crypto just went crazy. So even talking about investing type stuff and finance stuff, I barely understand it myself, to be honest, because none of us really understand crypto on a very deep level. None of us truly know if it's going to last or be fully regulated or any of that.
Right.
So I've been playing with a little bit of all of that, and it's helped me expand my card, everything I have as far as my cards and stuff, and collecting and investing and stuff like that. So it's just fun, man. I love it. I love buying cards, and if I don't pull anything, it's fine. It's just, you feel like a child again opening that pack. And but as far as you were talking about with hedging your bets, hedging your investments, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to hedge against everything going down right now, especially Metazoo?
Be mindful of, and again, I think that the safest floor is maybe the competitive base, because you can put your money or put a lot of time and investments into the high end pieces, which are very important. But I do think that like sample cards, cool. I think that that's very good, but being mindful of what's competitive or what's being played. I think that if you know this, then you can be sure that your collection is diverse in not only high-end stuff, but also more playable volume. Like it's like you might have, it's like stocks, or I would say, like you might have an ETF that might cover a whole industry vertical, or you might have a blue chip stock, and you might have some like penny stocks that are companies that could potentially boom in near future. And I think that that's where your competitor base may be. It might not be nearly the returns of something else, but at the same time, that if this card is always playable, or is a staple, I know that there's always going to be a market on it, and depending on the supply of it. So for me, I just think that to hedge your bets is being in the know, and being in the know requires you being in a Discord, whether it be, again, the shameless plug, but I think that all the community members in the Cash Society Discord, or find your community, really is finding your community, because they'll be able to disseminate the information, whether it be Cash Society, whether it be anybody else. If you can find people who align with you, your personality, whatever it may be, and can tell you, hey, this is being played, or we're working on this, or this will break the meta, do that. I personally do believe that whether it be watching people play on Twitch in the online league that we have, or anything like that, you can make inferences, because I'm like, I'm seeing this aura type being played quite a bit, and this is online. I'm gonna speculate and say this will probably be played more frequently. Like initially, water was a very big portion of the meta. You see how the water cards start to uptick in price as more people played it. Level of Frogman went up. Excuse me. Level of Mailman went up. Even smaller cards like Smoky Spirits, I think it was like at $2 or $3
Wow.
per, and that was just a common. You can look at also look at what's the value of the player. So Collecticon had the Collecticon packs and the player packs. What are the most valuable cards in those player and Collecticon packs? The cards that people are playing with: the Lightning in the Bottles, the Smoky Spirits, the Index, the Anti-Potion Potions. You got the Wallowa Lake Crustacean. Like all the cards that people are playing with have a premium on them. They have a sense of the collectability standpoint with those cards because of they're like extremely limited, the player stamped in the Collecticon hollow ones, but at the same time they also have a competitive element because there are people who want to hollow out their decks, or there's a supply for it because people want to hollow out their decks or their collections and stuff like that. So you would know this stuff because if you play, or if you're in a Discord, or if you're listening, or if you're watching it, you know, like, oh, this card's being played a lot. If I get a version of it that is super limited, which is the Collecticon ones, then it probably will be a lot more valuable compared to like just the standard common or uncommon variant of it.
That should also be indicative of a healthy players climate, right? Because if you have some common cards that nobody would be collecting or investing in otherwise, like Smoky Spirits, and they're buying them up, obviously that is indicative of a healthy player climate for Metazoo. Because you can't find it on the open market.
Right. I think it was cool because I was looking at the price volume of it, and it ticks. Like you look at the meta and the cards that are being played does that. Even now, it was a gassy OTK like one turn kill deck, and the price of gassy is shooting up because the article is out on the website. It did extremely well at the Caster Cup. And so it just exploded. The price of gassy exploded. And so I'm saying, if you use if you use the competitive scene as a healthy gauge for this, it could, again, help you kind of hedge your bets, because I know that this is a safe pick to invest in because of playability, or I can buy stuff up and, you know, eventually for whenever the meta does change into this or goes into this format, I can be prepared.
Okay. But how do you feel about like Kickstarter? I know you mentioned it, but Kickstarter sample cards of first edition Cryptonation, being that you're not really playing those cards, but they are rare.
I think that those are like historical memorandums. So it's like, I guess it's kind of like, they don't, because even the sample cards, like you can't use them. It would be like playtester cards are a different type of sample because you can use them essentially in a way. Well, you can use them. I think legally you can use them, and they're actually a card. But samples are like the Bitcoin of Metazoo. Like utility wise, Bitcoin doesn't really do that much. Like it's not this like it doesn't have a whole bunch of utility in that sense. But it's still like this thing of history. Like whether it be a story of how you got your sample card, the same way there's like a story about how somebody bought like a pizza with Bitcoin, but if he would have kept the Bitcoin, he'd be like a trillionaire now. Like there's still those kind of like stories and one-offs of, whereas your playtester cards or cards that are actually usable are kind of like your Ethereum, and then your regular cards are like your Solana and other ones, like more utility because you can use them in tournaments and play with them more, but there's more volume and there's like a little bit more like there's more utility that's associated with those, but it's not, even regardless of the utility, regardless of the player base, the sheer volume will never make it go as high as a sample card just in general. But I think that the sample cards are a really good option in my opinion, because I like the Loveland Frogman, but you look at it, the sample card of it is, I think, the same as a Lake Worth Monster, where you fatigue it to just draw extra card. I don't think that it had all the abilities that that than Frogman has now, like that made Loveland Frogman one of the best cards in the game. So it's cool to like pay homage to those things, because you're like, dang, the sample card of this would have been way better now, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So like sample cards are like the Bitcoin, the foundation, the king that made the game, and then building on top of something like Ethereum, right? Your utility, your foundation going further would be like your Prismors and the playability of the game.
Yeah.
So like
right
founding on it, and they're making them therefore worth more, right?
Right. I think the samples will only get more popular, especially once you get into the place of the other IP stuff. So I don't think that anybody's complaining if I see Rainbow, because I read the comics too. So if I see Rainbow Wizard, Loveland Frogman, if I see Sam Sinclair and Mothman and Injured Cold on the shows or on the anime or even in the game heavy, then that's only going to make my sample card be more valuable, because they're more of a hallmark within the history of Metazoo. They're more popular as a beastie or anything like that. Or if the Chaos Crystal is this coveted artifact, which it probably will be in any of these other IPs, it's only going to get more valuable. But it's a like a catch-22 in a way.
Yeah. As the game expands, we've already seen it go international. I have people who hit me up from France, Canada, anywhere, Europe, Germany, talking about Metazoo. And obviously it's still expanding, even though a lot of prices are going down. And I hear people talk about like the print runs and stuff like that. But looking at it from a macro perspective, like 50 to 100,000 is really, really small in the scheme of things, especially seeing like one print run, say Astral Radiance for Pokemon's probably in the billions. And still selling out, it's still coming off the shelves. And of course, I understand Pokemon's way bigger, but the fact that you have 100 sample cards or 2,400-ish Kickstarter boxes is just crazy to think, 10 years from now, what they could be worth and a desirability of it.
Oh, exactly. That's why it's again, that's a catch-22 as well, because now you're getting into the point where everybody has that mentality of like, dang, I gotta, like me, I'm like, if I hold on to my Kickstarter box, Logan Paul's gonna want to buy it for $2 million here down the road, and then I'm be rich. Yeah, and everybody hopes that. So now you're getting into, it's like the thing that kind of is right now with like sneaker resellers and stuff like that. Like I've done my fair share of like sales, and I flipped plenty of sneakers, but you get it to where things are so high and you don't see them on people's feet and stuff like that. So it becomes even more coveted, but at the same time, it affects the player base in a sense. Like, but I think Mike and the team are doing a great job by keeping the product accessible, and there are things to make people want to open up the boxes, to not hoard everything, because there's secret rares, there's a green man, there's a gold card, there's a bronze card, there's a silver card, there's an old scratch. So that incentivizes you to open up your boxes, because if you do get that, then you probably get something that's far more valuable than the actual, like imagine the stories that'll be said for old scratch, like, or a red ink or blue ink or something along those lines as well. So it's along the same vein, but I think that if they're doing a decent job or doing a really good job of creating some type of incentive, and I think it's only going to get better, because maybe people don't want a card, but people might want to experience, people might want a sample card. Like if I could open up a pack and get a sample card, or imagine if the gold card is like, oh, you get a dinner with Mike Waddell, or I don't know, who knows what the gold card is going to do, but I think that's going to make people want to open up more product. And then if they don't get it, then that increases the supply, which will then allow more players to play and get involved. And then also internationally, if people want to ship things or sell things and stuff like that, or with the distribution overseas, then it'll incentivize them to open up more stuff and get more players involved as well. There's nothing better than like opening up a lot of stuff and you have all this bulk and you're just like, okay, here, you get some bulk, Like that's the easiest way to get rid of your bulk, is just give it away. So if you're somebody who's like has a warehouse trying to open up a green man or a metal card, just give your book away to kids or some people or something like that. It'll immediately grow your community.
It'll also grow the game, because the more people you get interested in the game, you know, you're going to help grow Metazoo, which is awesome. Ultimately, that's the plan, right? To grow Metazoo. So it's just really cool to see it expand, especially firsthand. Like we're not that deep into it with Pokemon in the 90s, but to see Metazoo kind of like go from infancy into what it's growing into right now is crazy to see.
Right. And we were in that, like, again, at that point of the internet, like information disseminates so quickly nowadays. Like you could be in, there's so many different avenues with Metazoo, and this is kind of what I kind of culminate and kind of put everything together. We have amazing artists. We have musicians, like the music, the artists, the comics. We have, of course, the cards and stuff. We have the freaking plushies. We have all these different things, and so there's all these different mediums to where people can express their interest in. And I think that there's so many great artists that not only work for Metazoo, but also are doing like freelance stuff. Like I didn't get into art and stuff like that because I was like, dang, this artist made this card or a play mat or something like that, and that helped me get involved in that. And I bought a piece of art, and I'm like, this is something I never in my life bought a commission or anything like that. Like I didn't know anything about it. My parents never had art, but you see that people have art, and you never know if you bought like a poncho sketch or something like that, what it might turn into down the road. It doesn't have to be just the cards. I think it's, I guess anything with the IP is rather important, but to a little bit to kind of push towards like with the community building, I think that it's also in like investors and collectors, LGSs, everybody. But I think if you have the means to build the community, because it doesn't cost that much to buy, like, again, it's not the option, but buying like some $5 pizzas and some drinks and having like a learn to play night at a shop or a coffee store, a shop or an event or a game store or anything like that. Like those things are rather cheap. And I'm sure, I don't know about the Metazoo community, but there's something about pizza and drinks and whatever, and like they love that stuff. So I think that that's a pretty cool thing. But I think that right now we gotta have events. We gotta do things. It might cost a little bit of money, but again, if you're somebody who's an investor or a collector, you're only doing these. You're not only doing that. You're doing it with passion because you might really like and enjoy the game and enjoy the IP in general. But ultimately, it hedges your bets. It solidifies your floor. You take more risk off the table by doing this stuff.
I'm wondering what they're going to do as far as like translating the cards to different languages, because like out here in Europe, they speak a little bit of English, but it's probably not great enough to actually play the card game. But there are a lot of people out here who are starting to find out about it. And I would love to get some Metazoo or an event to like Europe or something like international to really get other people and other fan bases into this stuff.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. I think they might take it. I think some of the people who've done it the best is Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Where Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the world champion or the national champions, like they had it to where if you play in a tournament, you can only play up to a certain amount of sets or something in Yu-Gi-Oh! You could only play in the sets that were legal in America because those are the only sets that were released. So they were always a couple sets behind. And so doing something along that, but I think the easiest way is if you had like maybe a variant version of your ambassador cards that were translated in the language of the place that they're being an ambassador for, because that crosses over, because it's a point of where you have it in the native language or the most spoken language, as well as maybe an English variant for the players who are maybe domestic, who are more domestic here. And if they travel over there, then they have a card. Or if they want an international version, that makes their international version more valuable because they have something that's a little bit more coveted.
I've been seeing the same thing over here of like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. It's been a little bit
Yeah.
difficult though, because most of it's in German, so I'm on a hunt for English cards over here.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. I see a lot of people interested. And if we could just bring it over here, that would be awesome. I would love to make it to an event and see y'all out there like the next Casters Cup or Collecticon.
That would be cool. I think Gary and Ted went to France, and I think that more conventions and international stuff, and I think that they're doing a good job in terms of spotting and kind of like, you know, searching and inquiring about the best events and stuff like that. But yeah, I would love to go there and do like a learn to play. That's the goal, is to go out there and do something like that, because I think that'd be really cool to help kind of cultivate the international scene as well. And there's a lot of people who are working within the community. It's not just like just one group. It's like, I've seen the Smoke Squad. They've done some stuff in Canada. I see Dean and Aussie Brickster and Metazoo Nation and everybody in Australia. And there's a lot of different groups, and there's people I saw they had in the UK, they had an event. And so that I'm missing a lot of people. So I do want to give kudos to everybody. Like, you all are doing amazing jobs, and don't stop doing what you're doing, because look, we need everybody in this together to help kind of keep moving this along. But a lot of people are doing the work. We just need more people. We need more learn to plays. We need more people willing to try to put themselves out there. And I think maybe it comes to a proportion. And I'm saying I think a lot, because I want this to be separate from anybody else's opinion. But I do strongly believe that with us, I coming from maybe like, once you get them talking about something that they like you get them talking about Metazoo, they love it and they can talk your ears off. But you know, it takes a little bit of time to do that. And it's tough because they have to put themselves out there initially to kind of cultivate and build the community. So I say that it's tough, and I applaud all those people who may not be the most extroverted person, or might not be a salesman, or might not be confident in that sense. These are all skills. If you're building a community, you're learning skills along the way that might be applicable not only in Metazoo but in life. Like, you're learning how to organize a community, you're learning how to lead, you're learning how to communicate, disseminate information amongst people, fundraising, as well as building a team. Like, I've learned so much through even working with all my friends. Some of us don't have, like, I don't have the skill set that other people have, but I'm learning so much on the go. So these are also, it's more than just Metazoo. You're also learning skills that you can apply in life.
That's crazy you say that, because Metazoo, since I've been covering Metazoo on YouTube, I've been more into like Reddit and different platforms like Discord, looking at how to promote things, right? How to do tags and SEO. So just getting into something like that, you can really learn a lot of different tools and network with a lot of great people. And I would say, based over Metazoo, I probably met so many friends, just dozens and dozens of lifelong friends across all social media platforms and different LGSs I didn't even know about. And it's just, it's awesome. I really wish them all the best. And we just all work as like a family and just promote it.
Right. There's the content creators that are coming up and that have always been around. Like, Argos has been probably one of the OGs. Yeah. I've seen Nostalgic Collectibles. Like, some people are like OGs, like playing the card game and like reporting on it. But I mean, Ted's Basement is doing really good work.
He's killing it.
Yeah, there's so many content creators who, there's, I'm trying to, let me go. I feel so bad because I don't want to leave anybody off the list, but just know I'm subscribed. I don't want to miss anybody. So I'm just saying that I know that there's a lot of people who are involved, who've been in Metazoo for a minute, and I tip my hat to you. New people, new content creators, I tip my hat to you, whether it be the market stuff, whether it be playability, maybe even the cryptid lore. Like, everybody's doing their play. So I tip my hat to you, tip my hat to your channel, because I watch it all the time
I
and give you your
appreciate it.
flowers because, bro, I'm telling you, it's tough. They don't make they make manuals now, but like to be really good at SEO optimization, to keywords, thumbnails, like it takes time and effort and everything like that. And these skills, again, goes along with the collectability stuff. Like you get in one thing and it might help you by learning something else, and maybe learning SEO optimization might help you in another career or something like that, or the network that you build helps you down the road.
Man, it takes tons of research. And you know what? I really take my hat off to everybody as well. It's like the content creators, that's the first place I go. YouTube University, when I want to know about anything. I want to know about a new Pokemon set, Metazoo, the playability, what's going on. All of the content creators in this small sphere right now that I listen to have been doing a phenomenal job. And like you said, even to the OGs, to Argos, and just all of you on like Instagram and stuff like that. Man, it really makes my job and my life a lot easier like that.
It'll be good. I think that, again, it's just right now it's a tough one because like everybody's in this like fear stage, but the people who have been through it, they're like, oh no, this is my time to shine. But I think I overread a lot of people saying like, when an emerging asset comes into the market, or even during this time, during a time of recession or a bear market or anything like that, this is when people really have their best returns. So I'm saying, like, if you can, this is where you get involved in some sense. This also is where I guess you could consider this like averaging down, like you buy something a little bit higher, if you buy more of it, average down. But either way, I just
said dollar cost averaging. Talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Buy it, and bring your cost average down.
Yeah, it's the same mentality. I mean, again, everybody's kind of learning. Some people have known this stuff for years. Some people are learning it now, but I think that also the biggest thing that a lot of good investors have is they have information at their fingertips, and that's where your discourse come in. That's where the Casher Society Discord or Argos's Discord, anybody's Discord that you're in, like people create Discords daily for Metazoo to build their community, build their people. And so I say Casher Society, and because I'm part of the pro team, I say this not because I don't get paid or anything, but I do wholeheartedly believe that there's people who are nice and people who are trying to like understand the game and try to build the game. And I think it's a good start. And then from there, you can kind of go everywhere you want to. But I also want to talk about real quick about being, I guess, a nice person or player or collector or anything like that. Like, I mean, I know that this might be a time to buy cards, sell cards, play cards, different things like that. But being nice and being a person of like, of good moral standing and integrity is really, really important, because people are struggling. People aren't, and I don't want to sound like disingenuous. Like, I'm genuinely saying, like, people are struggling. Like, people are selling your cards and collections to pay for rent and different things like that. Do your best and to honor that and be mindful of that, because I know plenty of people who are in the Facebook groups that are saying, oh, tough times came around, I have to sell this card, sell this coveted sample or something like that. Be nice. Don't try to like kick them while they're down and pull the rug from underneath them. Like, it's just a tough time for everybody. So I do want to lead with that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I definitely appreciate those words of wisdom. A lot of people do need that right now. It is a tough time, and it's only going to get worse from here. I hate to say that, but I mean, looking at reality and just preparing for the worst, and just helping each other along the way. In whatever form or fashion we can, like you said, if it's giving away bulk or whatever it may be, but just being there for one another in these times that are coming, the recession or whatever, comes our way.
Right. Now it's crazy. I think that we've done so much. We've done the thing with the Castor Cup was cool because it validated it validated everybody's like, I'm collecting Metazoo, and what they've never had an event over, like, I think Cash Society Extravaganza 1 was the most at the time, was like 70 plus. Then Metazoo had their own event where we had international competitors. We had people from UK, Canada, and Australia. We had 320 plus people. It was amazing, and it validated us by doing that. Because whether you were a collector or investor or somebody who already had it in their game stores, now you're like, I told you, I told you, you should have got in when we were over here drinking. We were drinking the Kool-Aid, and everybody we're fools for getting involved. But we're at this point now where the validation is there. We don't we're cool on that. We need to build it up so everybody is able to participate and do well, whatever vertical you're in inside of that. So I just say, hey, if you're somebody who's an investor or collector, I'll dumb it down to this. If you're somebody who's an investor or collector, build your local game store scene, help players out. If you have any extra bulk, just give it out. Like, I promise you, it's not going to hurt you, and it's probably going to get a kid or somebody involved. If you're a player, host events, put yourself out there. You might not be the most confident, but I'm telling you, people are a lot nicer than you like to think. And if you lead with being a pretty cool person, not doing anything overly weird and taking care of yourself, I think you'll probably get more people to join the game. And if you're a local game store, be open-minded, see that there's more potential than the gains and the revenue that you can gain from it. Like, if do it. I mean, you're a business at the end of the day, but the game is here to stay. It's going to be around. You might as well join us. So, hey, have some space allotted for players, tournaments, and everything like that, and start hosting events. Biggest thing, and be a nice person.
Coming to a close, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, I really appreciate you as a person and everything you're doing. And unless you want to continue, we come back on. I think you said it, couldn't say it better than what you just said.
Nah, I'm good. And again, thank you for allowing me on your platform. Thank you for doing what you do in terms of being knowledgeable and being mindful of everything. And shout out to all the content creators. You're doing everything that you need to do. And I watch, and I really do appreciate you. People might not say it. People might not like your videos all the time, or might be just watching and not subscribing, but I'm here. I support you all, and thank you all for everything that you do.
Thanks, Easton. I appreciate you, man. Hey, I'll stay in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Let me know anytime you want to talk.
All right, cool, man. I'll hit you up soon. Personal. All right, bro.
Yeah, for sure. All right, bro.
Thanks,
I'll talk to you later. Bye. Peace.